Great Odin's raven!
This is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy.
This is ridiculous, okay? I'll go.
Hello and welcome to the FilmPulse.net podcast. This is episode number 56. My name is Adam. Today I'm joined by Kevin. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing all right.
Doing all right. This week we have a bunch of big interviews lined up. 3, to be exact.
Just interview after interview.
Yep. First up, we'll be having a chat with Rockstar DJ Josh LeCash on his new film, Rebel, Rebel, Rebel.
It's a terrible name for a film. Good film, but terrible name for a film.
Then we'll be talking to director Jeffrey Schwarz on his upcoming documentary, I Am Divine, which will be having its world premiere at South by Southwest next week. And then finally, we'll be having a conversation with director Vincenzo Natali on his new film, Haunter, which will also be premiering at South by Southwest. If that wasn't enough for a show, we'll also be talking about some of what we've been watching. We'll be going over this week's movie predictions, and finally, we'll be looking at this week's DVD and Blu-ray releases. First, I'm going to switch it up this week. Let's just jump right into these interviews.
All right. I'm down for that.
First, we talked to DJ Josh LeCash, but I think he doesn't have the DJ. I think he just does Josh LeCash. Very interesting guy. Talked about his new movie, Rebel, Rebel, Rebel. Let's give that a listen. Well, let's get started. Why don't you tell the listeners, who is Josh LeCash?
I am a DJ originally from Miami, Florida, and I am kind of a rising star in the DJ world, I would say.
Now, you've been known as a rock star in the DJ world.
Yeah.
Would you say that pretty accurate?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, the reason that we're talking to you today is you have a new movie coming out called Rebel, 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 and this is kind of a documentary that followed you around during your tumultuous rising as a star. How do you feel about how this movie kind of sheds its light on you? Because it seems like it's not painting the best picture.
I originally, Kyle, the director, is very secretive. He was following me around for 2 weeks, so you can imagine how much footage he actually had. So he was the one really painting the picture. I had no control over it. So I wasn't 100% happy with the outcome of it. But there were some things I liked about it, and the main thing that I do like about it is the press I'm getting.
Right.
And
There you go.
I hope that our next plan is to make a feature-length documentary, and I really want to push the envelope, and I want to show how far I can go and who I really am.
Okay. Now, what would you say to people that would just kind of disregard like modern DJing as more like just pressing play on a button?
I would say those are people who are scared of change and who are scared of any sort of technological movement, because those are the type of people that are just gonna be left behind. I think that with any job or just really anything anyone does, I think that there's going to be people that are shitty, and I think that there are going to be people that are good. So yeah, sure, there are a lot of shitty DJs, but then again there are a lot of good ones who probably wouldn't have ever started DJing if it wasn't for the new technology coming out.
Now, do you think that that's because they couldn't do it? They wouldn't have the skill set to do it otherwise?
No, I think it's probably because it wasn't accessible. I think that it could have either been too expensive, or they probably weren't just exposed to it. But now it would be hard not to be exposed to it, and it's not as expensive.
Now, one thing that I do want to credit you for is you use Serato, right? You use two 1200s and Serato.
Yeah.
And that's more than what some people are doing nowadays. So I do want to credit you for that.
Yeah, thank you. There are people who use iPhones, and that they don't even DJ. They just connect their iPhone to the mixer and then press next for whatever song they want. And there's, I mean, I've seen Elijah Wood do that, and that dude's a fucking dick too. Like,
so I would say like the equivalent of like crate digging is just searching through iTunes, or how's that work for these new style DJs?
Oh, with their iPhones, iPods. I honestly, no, I don't know. They really plug in through the headphone jack. They can do what anyone does. They can, like what anyone does when they connect their iPhone to their car or to whatever. They just press next, I think. You know, I mean, it's that's not really DJing, but they stand up there with their headphones and they look like they're DJing. So, I mean, for someone like him, Elijah Wood, who's an actor and who I guess practices his lines and puts so much work into acting, and then to not do anything, not put any effort in DJing, I find that offensive.
Okay. I didn't even know that Elijah Wood was into DJing.
I just hate Elijah Wood, but yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of those people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I like to call them laptop DJs. Now I used to DJ myself a little bit, and we use Serato as well. So I think that is the best way to go. I mean, especially even you don't want to carry around a crate of like 50 records with you, you know?
Right, or a ton of CDs, or yeah. I mean, it's a progression of technology. You should embrace it.
Right.
Yeah, you should just embrace the progression of technology.
I want to talk about what I like to call the Katy Perry debacle.
Oh yeah.
Now this was all caught on camera, and it's in your documentary. Have you recovered from that?
Uh-huh.
It seemed like by the end of the film you've already recovered, but
yeah, I mean there are ups and downs with any gig. I mean, you mean when I had to make an announcement?
It just seemed like that it was kind of a struggle.
I'm a DJ. I'm not an announcer. I don't hype up the crowd with my voice. They asked me to make an announcement about their eyelashes. They asked me to do that in the last second. How am I supposed to do that? I don't know. Yeah, it's, also, those gigs are really tough. Those crowds are tough because, I mean, you'd think that's easy and you just play top 40 and that's it. But, I mean, I personally don't like doing that, so I'm going to probably throw in some of the stuff I like, and then maybe I'm going to throw in something with curse words, and then I'm going to have parents yell at me, which happened. So there's a lot of my attention span my attention is just going a million different places in that kind of gig, and so then when you ask me to make an announcement in the last second, and also I might be drunk, it's not a good idea.
Now, what kind of music do you like, or what kind of music do you like to spin?
My favorite gigs are, like, there was this party that we were doing, I was doing for a whole year, and we're gonna bring it back in April, I think, in downtown LA. It's called Lil Death, Lil Death, and in that party, I really got to do whatever I wanted, and I really like, dark electronic synth music, and that's like where I could really, really, really do what I want, and those are the types of parties I really like to do. The personal appearance events for celebrities and all that, those are great for money, but not for creativity, not to really, really do what you like.
Now, for those that, like, I have a friend that is a professional DJ out of Orlando, and what would be your best advice in grabbing some of these, like, big celebrity gigs? Like, I mean, how do they pick you?
Move out of Orlando. I mean, seriously. I mean, at least move down to Miami. I've mostly focused my attention on Miami. I mean, that's where I started, and I was there for like 4 or 5 years DJing, and then I decided to move out to LA because I was getting those celebrity gigs, and I'm getting more of them in LA than I was in Miami, but Miami was like the jump off for me. I mean, you get you start getting noticed by like the local magazines there, and I guarantee you the local magazine in Miami, which is like Ocean Drive or the New Times, Miami New Times, I guarantee you that will get you more attention than anything in Orlando does.
So what's next? Like, what kind of gigs you have lined up?
I want to start playing festivals. I mean, and the way you do that is to start making music, and I've been starting to write music. So hopefully that will take off. But I want to play festivals, and my buddy over here, he's a DJ. His name's Chris Holmes. He's DJ'd. He's opened for Paul McCartney, and I feel like if he could do it, I could do it. And I would love to open for like a legend like that, maybe David Bowie or something. He's having a new album out. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's so much I could do, and I'm not even just focused on just one thing. I mean, if I get to open for a giant legend rock star like David Bowie, I'll do that, and then still try to make music and still try to go to festivals and stuff like that.
Now, getting back to the movie, I read that you have a vendetta with South by Southwest.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Honestly, I just woke up like 15 minutes ago, so my brain's not 100% functioning. But yeah, fuck South by Southwest. Honestly, those people, I mean, it's a fucking music and film festival. How is my movie not in there? I don't fucking understand. It's not like it wasn't in Slam Dance. I mean, we are getting recognized, and people are liking the movie. So for South by Southwest to not pick it up is mind-boggling. They're probably a bunch of film school dropouts who are just jealous of me.
Yeah, I mean, this film does seem perfectly suited for South by Southwest.
I agree.
I was surprised that it wasn't involved.
Yeah, we're still going out there because there's a smaller film festival going on at the same time, and they're going to screen my movie. So
I love that.
Yeah, so I'm still going out there, and I'm going to really, really, really just talk about South by Southwest. I will forever, even if I do like a giant movie or I become a giant DJ or whatever I do in the future, if they invite me, there's no fucking way I'm going. And there's no fucking way I'm doing anything ever in my life for South by Southwest.
Oh, that's great. I love people that have vendettas. I love it.
Vendettas are always great. For whatever reason.
So you'll be in Texas. When is the film screening there?
On March 10th at 5:30 p.m. at the RX FM Film Festival.
Okay, cool. So if you're in Texas and you're getting overwhelmed with South by, definitely check that out. The movie's Rebel, Rebel, Rebel. And where can people find more of your work online?
SoundCloud. /Josh LeCash, and yeah, SoundCloud is probably the best, and I'm sure there's some clips of the film on YouTube, so just type in Josh LeCash on YouTube. And,
I think there is a bunch of stuff. You're on Twitter too, right?
I am on Twitter. Everything I have is Josh LeCash, so I made it easy for everyone, I guess, and for myself.
All right, well, thank you very much, Josh, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, and maybe we can meet up in South by.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That'd be great.
All right, man, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks again, Josh, for taking some time to give us a chat, and we'll hopefully be seeing you again in Austin, even though you're not a big fan of the South by Southwest.
No, not at all.
Let's get into our next conversation with director Jeffrey Schwarz. He made a little documentary about Divine, and
it was amazing. Documentary. Yeah,
it was great. So this is having its world premiere at South by. We were able to have a quick chat with Mr. Schwarz, so let's go ahead and give that a listen. Let's talk about maybe your introduction into film, because I did a little research, looked you up on the old IMDb, and it looks like you're kind of like a producer extraordinaire. You have 301 titles.
Yeah, well, a lot of what I do for a living, I guess my day job, is producing added value, DVD extras, and EPKs, electronic press kits for the studios. So I've spent the last, more than a decade working for the studios. I have a company called Automat Pictures, and that's what we do. And I've, over the years, produced probably dozens and dozens of titles, for new movies they call them day and date movies. Like we just finished the new Resident Evil Blu-ray, and there's extras on there. But then also library titles. And over the years, I've gotten to work with some amazing directors, people that I've looked up to over the years, of getting to make documentaries about their work, like Martin Scorsese and David Lynch and Wes Craven and so many other people that I just adore. So I've been really, really lucky that my job is also, making documentary work. Although the documentary features I've done are kind of a separate thing. Even though I'd made, hundreds of these featurettes, it wasn't until I made my first feature that I was sort of considered a director, considered a filmmaker. So the first feature was called Spine Tingler, the William Castle story, that came out premiered at the AFI Fest in 2007, and then was subsequently released on DVD, and it just aired on Turner Classic Movies, and it just came out on iTunes. So these movies, even though it's like 5 years old, it still has a life in it.
Actually, I just watched it last night from iTunes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, were you a big William Castle fan? What brought you to make a movie like that?
Well, I was introduced to William Castle actually through John Waters, because when I was in high school, he had a book called Crackpot, and there was an essay in there about his love of William Castle. And I didn't really know William Castle. I guess I had heard of the movies because I was a big monster movie fan, but when I read John Waters' essay about William Castle, I just fell in love with William Castle, because I just fell in love with his personality and his audacity and his humor. And then I started developing that as a documentary when I first moved to Los Angeles in the mid '90s. I actually had pitched it to Sony, who owned a lot of the William Castle movies. I was a little bit naive at the time. I didn't realize that major studios don't really bankroll independent documentary films. But the guy who I pitched it to was just hired to run the DVD division at Sony, and this was a brand new format. And so through meeting him, through pitching the William Castle movie at Sony, I met the guy running the DVD division, and then he ended up hiring me to start producing DVD extras. So that's kind of how the whole William Castle led me to this whole business of producing content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. So John Waters was in Spine Tingler, and he's now in I Am Divine, the new movie that we're going to be talking about. Have you developed some sort of friendship with John Waters?
Well, I hope that we're friends. I mean, I feel like he knows me and he knows my work. And, after Spine Tingler, I worked with him again in another piece I did for Stars called In the Gutter, which was about the rise of the Gross Out movie. And also worked with him on the DVD for the Hairspray remake. And that was a New Line project, and I did the all the extras for the remake, and part of the extras was a piece about the original Hairspray, actually even going further back, talking about the original Buddy Dean show that John, and Divine too, used to watch, and that inspired the story of Hairspray. So, but part of the documentary about the original Hairspray, of course, was talking about Divine, and that's kind of where the idea started, when I realized that there hadn't really been a proper feature documentary about Divine's life. And I had pitched the idea to John. It was probably around the time Spine Tingler came out. It was in 07, 08. And he was a little hesitant at first because he's very close to the story, of course, and he wanted to make sure that it was done right. But having seen my work and having even been in one of my films, he ended up giving me his blessing and saying, I trust that you're going to make a great movie. And then he ended up talking to all the people that I wanted to interview and telling them that they should do it. So I think without John's early support, I mean, if he had said, like, no, I don't want you to do it, I would not have embarked on this. I wouldn't want to do anything that didn't have his blessing. But luckily, right, he did give us his blessing, and then that just opened up so many doors for us. And then he ended up allowing us to use clips from his films and in our documentary, and he's been just incredible. He gave us a great interview, and I'm he's probably the one person, living director that's had like the most influence on me and has sort of steered me in a direction over the years. He's fantastic, fantastic guy.
Yeah, Kevin and I are both huge John Waters fans. Love John Waters. Both of us went to go see him speak on different occasions, and he's just such an amazing person. Just so interesting.
And he's hilarious, and like you said,
going
to see him speak, this is not a new thing for him. He used to do that with Divine. They would do tours, and they would basically do sort of a stand-up act, And so John's been doing this a long, long time, and he loves doing it. He travels around the country, he travels around the world doing this one-man show now, and he's had huge success with it. He has a whole brand new audience that knows him through this rather than from growing up with the movies. It's so interesting.
Yeah, my wife is actually a huge fan of John Waters, but she's never seen a John Waters film. It's only through his books and seeing him speak.
Yeah, I think that's probably not too uncommon. I mean, when I first got introduced to him, it was through his writing too, because in high school I didn't have access to those movies, but I read Shock Value and I read Crackpot and all the essays he was writing. So that was how I got turned on to Divine and got turned on to John Waters, was through his writing, and then saw the movies. So it's still happening. It's so interesting. People are just discovering him in all kinds of ways. Probably people saw that episode of The Simpsons he was on and know him from that.
He's also in the that Lonely Island video, the Creep video.
Oh yeah, he's in that, and he's in Bride of Chucky. He pops up all over the place. It's he's great, and he's a real ham too. I love seeing him in movies.
Oh yeah, he's just great. Getting back to I'm Divine now, you financed this through Kickstarter, and we actually do a feature on the website every week where we pick a Kickstarter project and we promote it and try to get the director on, and you were the first one, I believe the first one that we actually promoted on our site. As soon as I saw it pop up, I was like, yes, I need to see that movie.
That's good. Well, I felt this was the first time that I had really aggressively used social media and Kickstarter to help to finance one of my projects. And my producer, Lottie Ferris-Knowles, and I spent about a year developing the community before we hit them up for cash. So we cultivated thousands of people on our Facebook page and interfaced with them every day, and would send crazy links to stories that had happened, and links to that directly related to John Waters and Divine, but also just crazy things that happened in Florida, strange criminals or filth of all kinds, and so we just started having a lot of fun with it, and started to get people excited and interested in the project that we were doing. So by the time that we actually were ready to launch our campaign, we had probably over 10,000 fans on there. And it's a lot of work doing a Kickstarter campaign. I don't think people realize, because you have to, once you launch it, you have to really water that garden every single day and offer incentives that are very appealing to people. So we kind of split up our levels. There's can I curse on this show?
Yes.
There's the shit kicker level. There's the maniac level. There's the chubby chaser level. There's the Jezebel level. And they were all different levels. And for a bare minimum of $10, you could get your name in the credits, which was very appealing to a lot of people, especially in this economy, and all the way up to some major donors. And we're lucky enough that one of our producers is Lance Robertson, aka DJ Lance Rock from Yo Gabba Gabba, who is a huge Divine fan, and not a lot of people know about the real Lance Robertson. They know who DJ Lance Rock is from the TV show, but Lance is, he's a former punk rocker and a musician and a cult movie fanatic. So, a lot of people stepped up to the plate to help us, and I think there's 2,225 donors, I think, to this movie, and we certainly could not have done it without all those fans.
Yeah. So. Let's talk about the documentary itself. Now, we got a chance to check this out, and first of all, let me say I loved it. Huge fan. I didn't know a whole lot about Divine, and I think that that's really the draw of this documentary, is that people know Divine the character, but not many people know Divine as the person.
That's true. I mean, I learned a lot about Divine too. I think also if you're a Divine fan, you might only know him from the John Waters films, but you don't know how that character developed, where it came from, it's an origin story, I guess you could call it. And there's also Divine's theatrical career, there's his music career, there's his disco career, and then just also his personality, that he was so different from the characters that were in the movies, and he was so different than his sort of public persona was. He was a very soft-spoken, gentle, introspective, shy, almost withdrawn as Glenn, loving, full of love in his heart. But as Divine, it was completely different. As soon as he put on the wig and the heels and the dress, Tab Hunter said he had like sparks coming out of his ass. So I just love it. It's such a. I think a lot of people who do drag do that for that reason, that they can channel something that they're really not able to do in their normal everyday life into the character, and that's certainly what Divine did with that character.
Yeah, absolutely. There was so much I learned about Divine. Like, first of all, I was taken aback when I found out how different Divine was on screen and off screen. I thought that was just so interesting, because when you see the movies, it's just like, how can this person not be insane in real life?
That's true, and it caused him a lot of trouble in his personal life, because people were a little bit scared of him, because they thought, well, John Waters must have just found this person in some insane asylum somewhere and put him in movies. But actually, he was a skilled actor, So people took him for granted. I think they didn't really see that there was an actor behind those roles, and that there was a lot of thought put into that and a lot of skill. I mean, he's not Divine in all those movies. He's Francine Fishpaw, or he's Dawn Davenport. He's or Edna Turnblad. I mean, they're all completely different characters. They all have Divine in common, but he brought different aspects of his own personality to those roles, and he really craved the respect as an actor, and he wanted to do more roles out of drag as himself. He even at one point he had a manager when he moved to L.A. and they considered sending him out on readings as Glenn Milstead, but they quickly decided that wasn't going to be a good idea because he was Divine and everyone knew him as Divine. But he really wanted to do male roles, and it started to happen for him in the mid '80s, and especially after Hairspray. He started there was a lot of interest in Divine as out of drag.
And he was going to be on Married with Children, right?
Yeah, after Hairspray, the irony, and I'm not giving anything away because I think most people know that he passed away right after Hairspray came out, and he was offered a role on Married with Children as Peg Bundy's uncle, out of drag, as a man, and he was so thrilled about that because he really had made it. I mean, this thing started off, he didn't realize that he could even have an acting career or be a movie star when he was this overweight sissy kid growing up in Baltimore that wanted to be a movie star. How likely was that to happen? And then for him to have made this journey and be accepted in a mainstream way and to get a role on a top hit sitcom was really a dream come true for him. And he flew to LA to shoot the episode, and he just went to bed the night before the filming and he didn't wake up. And who knows what would have happened to him had he lived and had his career gone on. It might be Divine's Drag Race instead of RuPaul's Drag Race. Who knows?
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. And it's really a tragedy because it seemed like his career was on such an upward trajectory by that point. Like he was just getting so much stuff and he had so much momentum.
It is a tragedy, but on the other hand, I mean, there's no doubt that it was a tragedy, and it's not a happy ending. But in the other sense, it is a happy ending because he just went to bed one night and didn't wake up, and he was the happiest he had ever been in his life. So of course it's a tragedy, and of course we would love to have seen what could have happened next. But I don't know, that might be not the worst way in the world to go out, to just like go to bed with a smile on your face, And also, John Waters told me this too. He's like, I didn't know that you'd be able to give this thing a happy ending because it's so depressing what happened, and it was so sad for John and all of Divine's close friends that they lost him. But in a way, Divine, we lost him, but he's ours for the ages. He's always going to be around through those movies, and now through this documentary, a whole new generation is going to get to know him. And I feel like he's such an inspiration for anyone who's ever felt like an outsider or a freak. You don't have to be have grown up gay to identify with Divine. Anyone who feels like a freak for whatever reason it is, can identify with Divine. And so he's certainly a role model for misfit youth, I would say. And anyone who feels like that they're just on the outside looking in, Divine really proves that you can turn all that around. And it's interesting that it's sort of in the zeitgeist now with the It Gets Better campaign and all this talk about bullying. I mean, Divine was a victim of bullying when he was in high school, vicious bullying. And every single day was torture for him going to high school. And it wasn't until he found a way to channel that rage into the Divine character that I think he really came into himself. And he also, met John and met all these other people who loved him and accepted him. All the other freaks growing up in Baltimore, the Dreamland crew. It wasn't until that happened that he really came into himself and found something that he loved to do, and that took him on this incredible journey.
The film got into South by Southwest. It's going to be is it premiering there?
Yeah.
Or did you have some premieres other places?
No, it's our world premiere.
World premiere.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does that feel to get your film into South by, having its world premiere there?
Oh my God, it's unbelievable that. Well, first of all, it's unbelievable that the movie's done. It's been quite a long time working on this thing. So, having a festival premiere and getting a yes. It's so great to get a yes, no matter what you're doing, because in LA it's either is no or just no answer whatsoever about things that you want to do, and then somebody says yes to you, and it's so great. So, and especially South by, because it's such a party. I've never been to South by, but everyone I know who's been just loves it, and everyone's saying that festival and this film are a great match. And I know the audiences are really super enthusiastic, and the whole city just turns into a big party, and people are there to see movies, and listen to music, and so I feel like I'm really. It's less than a week away, and I'm really, really, really excited. And we just finished the movie like last week, so it's hard to believe it, and I think that the fact that a week from today we'll have had our world premiere, and then we'll be on to other film festivals after that, is just hard to believe. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely deserving. I mean, the movie turned out great, and
thank you.
Congratulations again on it turning out so good. And do you know when the film will be screening at South by?
Yeah, it's screening on Saturday night. Next, let's see, I'll give you it's Saturday, March 9th at 9:15.
There you go.
And
so
I must say that if you're in South by Southwest, I implore you to see this movie. This was such a great documentary. It was so respectfully done, and just It was amazing. I loved it.
And like you said before, the tone of the documentary it's not a sad movie, and the way that it's done is very lighthearted and fun.
Well, I'm glad you say that. I mean, the style of the films really do stem from the subject matter and stem from the characters. So we wanted to have fun with the style. We employed a lot of animation and sort of a light-hearted approach, but it's not all that. I mean, there's definitely a journey there, and particularly Divine's relationship with his mother, with his family.
Yes.
Goes through a lot of stages, and I think when you're a rebellious teenager and you just want to say F you to your parents, they're still going to be in your life, and there's I hope a very emotional. I hope there's some emotional resonance there for people who've had difficulties with their family, that it's possible to reconnect with them, even though there's been problems in the past. I mean, I'm sure it was very difficult for Divine's mom to accept, their son eating dog shit in a street in Baltimore and becoming a cult movie star for being so outrageous. But they did end up accepting him, and they did end up, when they reunited, they put up a big sign in their house that said, "Welcome home, Divine." They used the Divine name. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very touching, actually. And so the movie is essentially a comedy, but I hope that it kind of takes you through all the things that a movie is supposed to do. And people are touched emotionally by this guy and would be maybe surprised by that.
Yeah, I definitely have to say that was extremely heartwarming section of the documentary. It was, like you said, to have it end on a happy note, to have that happen before he passes away. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and thank God we were able to interview Frances Milstead, Divine's mother. She was actually the first interview that we did, because I just didn't want to take any chances. And in fact, she did end up passing away a couple years after we did the interview. And so she's obviously not able to see this movie, but I hope somehow she knows. She does talk about it in our film, that she, when I talked to her for the interview, she was saying after Divine died, she was really angry and bitter for years after that happened. And like, why did this have to happen? Why couldn't I have gone first? Why did God have to take Divine away from me? But then she realized that even though she lost him, the world has him now,
Yeah.
And she used to get letters from young people all the time saying how much Divine meant to them and how it helped them in their own journey. Divine's journey inspired them, and that he was okay with who he was, and that meant they could be okay with who they were too. So I think that at the end of her life she knew that, and she was so beloved too. I mean, she lived in Florida, and she was grand marshal of pride parades, gay pride parades, and she had all these gay guys just tend to her every need, and she lost Divine, but she gained this whole community of 40-something-year-old gay guys that got to know some of them, and I think it's just so wonderful. And she was very supportive of this movie. I wish she could have gotten a chance to see it though.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. The film's having its world premiere at South by Southwest. It's called I Am Divine. Do you have any plans for other festivals, distribution deals, that type of thing in the works?
Our international premiere is going to be at the London Lesbian and Gay Film Festival. That's run by the BFI. But that's right after South by, and then Cleveland's been announced, and there's a whole slate of other ones that haven't been officially announced yet, so I can't talk about it. But I hope almost every city in America will get to see this movie. And then as far as distribution, we'll see what happens after South by. I'm hoping that we can attract a distributor and get it to as wide an audience as possible.
Well, I certainly hope so too.
Yes,
Jeffrey, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us.
Sure, thanks guys, I really appreciate it.
Thanks again, Jeffrey, and be sure to check out I Am Divine if you're going to be at South by Southwest. And as he said, there's going to be plenty more screenings of that are going to be starting, he said, with Cleveland, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is this documentary is amazing, and you need to see it.
Yes.
And
simply put.
Yes, and with discussing a character that is an exercise in bad taste, this documentary is done so tastefully. It's very respectful to Divine and Glad as a whole. Absolutely. It's amazing.
For our final interview today, we had a chat with director Vincenzo Natali on his new film Haunter, which is going to be premiering at South by Southwest. So let's just go ahead and kick that off.
Let's do it.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about your early career. What got you into film to start?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, my first memory of seeing a movie was the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, the old Ray Harryhausen film. So I had always loved movies from a very young age. I was probably 4 years old when I saw that. But actually, my first love was comic books. And my great desire was to be a comic book artist. And somewhere around the age of 8, I saw Star Wars, and then that kind of tipped the balance, or tipped the scale a bit. and I really became interested in visual effects and makeup effects, that kind of thing. And then I grew up with a Super 8 camera. I had a friend who actually was one of the writers on Cube, and we made films together throughout high school, and that was it. So it's kind of the typical film nerd story.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, since you mentioned Cube, I love Cube. I was such a huge fan of this. I think Kevin and I saw this when it came out in '97, or when it came out on VHS.
I'm pretty sure we probably skipped school to see Cube.
Yeah, and we absolutely loved Cube.
Oh, thank you. That's really great to hear. Yeah.
Now, we weren't real big on the sequels, though. I will admit that.
Right. Now, in case you didn't know, I had to do with this.
Yeah, I know that. So, was Cube your first feature?
That was my first feature film, yeah.
And what we're talking about today is Haunter, and that's your newest film. Now, you've done a pretty impressive slate of things in the industry since your first feature. You did Splice, which I'm sure many people know about. That was this kind of really twisted movie, if I do say so. But it was a great science fiction horror film. And now you have Haunter, and that's making it. Is that premiering at South by? Is that having its world premiere there?
Yeah. Very few people have actually seen it.
Yeah. We tried to get your publicist to send us a screener, and he was not all about that.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta experience it firsthand. That's
that's how we prefer to do it anyway. So we're more than happy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Haunter? Maybe what it's about, the plot, who's in it.
Sure. Well, Haunter is the story of a dead teenager, played by Abigail Breslin, and she is trapped in a kind of purgatory where she has to relive the last day of her life over and over. She died in 1985, and she is the only member of her family to be aware of this. So, in a sense, our film kind of picks up where, say, Sixth Sense or the others left off, in that our protagonist is a ghost, but in this case, she knows she's a ghost from the get-go. And it's really a mystery about how she died. And then there's a parallel story with a family that is currently living in the house in 2013 who may be in danger of suffering the same fate as her family. So it's quite a beautifully constructed story. It's written by a very dear friend of mine, Brian King, who wrote my second film, Cypher. And Brian writes these very elaborate, labyrinthine kind of stories, and that's what Haunter is. It's definitely a non-traditional ghost story.
Now, would this qualify as a horror? Are there a lot of horror elements to it, or is it more of like a thriller?
You know, like everything I do, and the problem with many things that I do is that it's a hybrid. Mm-hmm. So I would say, yes, I would certainly define it as a horror film, but I think that the word horror, in the advent of torture porn, etc., has taken on a kind of aspect that definitely our film doesn't encompass. Our movie is very much bloodless. It is, I hope, scary, but it is in the sense a classic ghost story in so much as we rely entirely on atmosphere and suggestion rather than anything gratuitous. And I actually made a vow that I would not have a drop of blood in this movie. This is coming from someone who has no fear about shedding blood on screen.
Right. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yes.
That's my type of horror film.
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes.
I'm a huge fan of horror films, and I always find the ones that are more atmospheric and mood-based to be the most frightening.
I think so. I mean, I did a little bit of research before stepping into the movie, and I actually found, in looking at ghost stories, etc., the most frightening director of the supernatural that I've seen is Ingmar Bergman. And you wouldn't expect that, but it's because he treats the concept of a ghost or the arrival of someone who's dead is utterly natural. So there's nothing spectral about them. It's not, when the ghost appears, it's just a person. The only difference being that you know that they're dead. And there's something about that that's profoundly unnerving and frightening. And so it's actually the matter of factness of it that is the most disturbing aspect. And I tried to shoot the film in that way. It's not terribly Baroque or anything. It's even the house itself is kind of it's a Georgian style house. It's not full of arches and cantilevered windows. And it's not a typical haunted house. It's actually a very friendly looking home. It's the kind of place, if you were lucky, you got to go up in the 1980s.
Looking at your filmography, it looks like you kind of stick within like the science fiction, horror genres. Is that something that you really enjoy doing? Do you ever want to break out into other genres, or is this your wheelhouse?
Yeah, no, I don't have any desire to leave. I mean, to me, we're living in a science fiction horror film right now, so
yep.
It's all very true to life and feels very relevant. And I grew up. Let me put it this way: my life is very dull, and I would never want to commit it to film. Mm-hmm. I would never do that to another human being. To it. So what's much more interesting is my fantasy life, I think, and that's what really interests me is putting things on the screen that don't exist or overtly exist in our everyday lives.
Okay. So, like we said before, the film is having its world premiere at South by Southwest. Do you know what days that's going to be screening at the festival?
I think it's the 9th. I would have to look at a calendar, but it's Saturday night at midnight.
Okay, Saturday night at midnight, and it is part of the Midnighters series at South by, where it's all like the great genre films that I'm a big fan of. So definitely have to check that out. And you'll be at the festival as well, I'm assuming.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And are any of the cast or crew going to be there?
I hope Abigail's going to be there. I know she wants to go, but I haven't heard that 100% confirmed. So, and definitely Brian will be there. And Brian by the way, is the creator of this thing. I mean, this is one of those projects one of the rare projects that kind of landed in my lap, and it's entirely Brian's creation. So we're going there as co-creators.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your time to talk with us. Again, the film's called Haunter. It's premiering at South by Southwest this week. And thank you again for giving us a chat.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Kevin. It was a pleasure.
Thank you again, Vincenzo, for taking some time to give us a chat.
Give us that chat. Come on.
And if you're going to be in South by, make sure to check out Haunter. All right, let's get into some of what we've been watching. Kevin, we're going to start it with you this week.
I started off with Jeanne Dielman. The infamous Jeanne Dielman by Chantal Ackerman. This film is, it's like 3+ hours. You've probably heard of neorealism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with this movie.
Okay, yeah. This is beyond neorealism. This is like uber realism, just hyper realism. It's ridiculous. Everything plays out in real time. And it's essentially just a woman doing the dishes, making dinner, folding clothes, knitting, everything that everyone finds immensely exciting. This is essentially an experiment. This is not your standard entertainment film. And I found it to be quite good. It's, how there was the movies in the 70s and such that long build up and then the finale would just be insanity, violence, all that stuff. That was essentially how the 70s were.
Taxi Driver.
Yeah, this film is pretty much 3-hour fuse until you get to any sort of action. But at the same time, it's it can be examined any sort of ways. A lot of people see it as a feminist movie, and I quite liked it. I found myself being drawn into it. And even though that, when it first came out, you could only see it in the theater, you couldn't do anything else. You were in your seat watching the film. Oddly enough, when I was able to watch it, I'm sitting at home watching it on the TV. And a lot of times I found myself doing the dishes while I'm watching the film. So as I'm doing my household chores, I'm like, oh, this is like Jeanne Dielman. So I don't know, obviously Chantal Ackerman didn't plan that to happen, but it worked out quite well. If you're a true cinephile, you really love movies, cinema, love movies where you can really read into everything, check it out. If not, if you don't like that, you want entertainment, steer well clear of this movie because you're going to fucking hate it.
Sounds like a challenge.
It is a challenge, but it's one of those movies that I'm going to be thinking about for years. I mean, I watched it, back on the 25th of February? I'm still thinking about this fucking movie. I'm still reading into it different ways, all sorts of stuff. I enjoyed it. It's not exciting in any way. I mean, there's a thing at the end that sort of catches you off guard, but do you want to wait 3+ hours to get to that point? I don't know. And then I watched Man Is Not a Bird. This is Dusan Mekid. Oh, fuck. Dusan.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I've been nailing it all day. Dusan Mekiveg. Mekivjev. Dusan Mekivjev. This is
It's being kept in.
Oh, Jesus. Fucking Yugoslavia. Dusan Mekivjev. Debut feature film. Fucking killed it. This is beautiful black and white movie. His first feature film. He turned out to be a completely radical experimental filmmaker, just making crazy off-the-wall films that pretty much got banned. And he actually had to leave communist Yugoslavia. And this film slightly dips its toes into the experimental realm, but a lot of it is actually pretty straightforward Hollywood fare. But I mean, I was completely surprised that Yugoslavia was creating such great cinema during this time. This is from 1965. This is out on not Criterion, it's out on their like lower level Eclipse series, like his first couple of films or whatever. And the camera work is the absolute highlight of this film. It's amazing. You have the wide angle shots, the overhead shots, but then he has this completely radical, extreme in your face close ups and handhelds, completely freeform where he's just floating around all the action, just spinning around the characters. It's fantastic movie. I would definitely check it out. Plus, it has all the underlying criticizing communism and all that stuff. Definitely a good film to check out. And then I followed it up with War Witch, which I have a review up on the website. This is a film I actually got the screener for the Independent Spirit Awards. So that's how I was able to watch this, because this, of course, did not come anywhere close to my area.
No.
And I doubt it ever will. And I remember you talking about this a couple months back.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when, but I remember you talking about, the whole like witchcraft element of it.
Yeah.
Sort of catching you off guard. And it caught me off guard too, even though I knew it was coming. I knew you told me about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was the absolute highlight of this film. It was really perfectly done.
Yeah. I loved it.
It was done in such of like just a nonchalant, matter-of-fact way. Sort of like Beautiful, the Javier Bardem film, where they just sort of popped up. There's no explanation or anything. They're just there.
It was very understated how
Yes.
they came into it. And it was like, it didn't detract from the movie. It didn't make the movie feel any less real to me.
No, and the way they presented the ghost
was awesome.
For me, like, I just believed it right away. I was like, okay, yeah, ghost, gotcha. Not going to question it at all. So, I gave this an 8 out of 10 on the site in my review. I thought it was an outstanding film. Numerous films in one, essentially coming-of-age tale, young love tale, a harsh war drama, just everything rolled into one.
Yes, and this was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film.
Yes, and rightly so. I mean, the performances were just all around great, and I love how they touched on which I didn't include in my review, but the whole albinoism thing in Africa, because they're actually it's a real dilemma in Africa. They're being hunted and killed for ritualistic, superstitious reasons. So they actually have like a terrible, terrible, terrible existence in Africa. And they lightly touch on it, which was refreshing to see. But I almost wish they went a little bit further. And then, of course, I watched I Am Divine, which, for the sake of the interview, Rebel, Rebel, Rebel for the sake of the interview. But that's essentially it. I did rewatch Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh.
Because I forgot that I had the screener for Independent Spirit Awards. God damn, that was a great movie.
I know, I love it. When I rewatched it, I was like, I think I even liked it even more the second time.
Yeah, with a Wes Anderson film, you always pick up on the little things.
Yeah, and it still makes me laugh. I mean, even during the I don't know if it was, I think it was the Independent Spirit Awards when they were just showing clips, and I was just laughing hysterically, even at just like the little clips that they would show during the awards.
Yeah, I'm just so much fun. Loved it.
Okay. Well, I started out the week by rewatching a movie from 1997 called Cube.
Cube.
Directed by Vincenzo Natali, who we just spoke with. I still like Cube. I still think it's a very, very interesting concept. I thought it was an incredibly well-made film, just simply for the budget. And just a really cool concept. I mean, if you haven't heard of Cube, it's just about this group of people that wake up in this room, and there's these doors on every wall, including the ceiling and the floor, and they just lead into almost identical rooms. And some of the rooms have traps, and it's basically about how they're just trying to figure out where they are and how to get out. And it's really interesting. There's a lot of like logic and math involved with how they figure it out and stuff. And it felt like a very smart movie.
Yeah,
And
I remember when this. I think me and you first saw this movie.
Yeah,
Way back. What
way
was
back.
it? 97.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, this movie was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it
Blew me away.
the special effects did not stand up. I remember when I first saw this, I remember thinking like the acting wasn't the best, and it didn't look like a big budget Hollywood movie, but I didn't really have an issue with the special effects back then, but now they really look dated.
Yeah.
But I did read that all the special effects were donated for free. All the effects work was done for free.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't want to say that that's why they didn't look bad. They don't hold up over time, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, it was an extremely inventive use of the entire thought of one setting, one room.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
how they just changed the lighting in the cube, but essentially it was just the same room over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really cool if you're into sci-fi horror type movies. Definitely recommend checking that out. A lot of fisheye lens that they use in that too. Like a lot of crazy. It almost felt like a Sam Raimi film. How they use like these crazy like. I mean, I don't know if it was a fisheye, but it kind of had that look where they do like these like crazy fast close-ups and stuff where they actually move the camera, and really cool.
Yeah, see, when you told me that we were going to be interviewing him, I wanted so badly to revisit Cube, and I just wasn't able to in time.
Yeah. I did not revisit Cube 2 Hypercube though.
Cube Zero? Did you you didn't get around to Cube Zero?
Well, actually, I have seen both of those. Cube 2 Hypercube is really bad. Cube Zero is actually not too bad.
Now, Natali only did the first.
Right, he only did the first one.
Yeah. He nailed that shit and got out.
Yeah, he was smart. Then I saw Female Trouble. This is by John Waters. I did this for my Grindhouse weekly feature. I also kind of did it just because I knew we were going to be talking about I'm Divine, and Female Trouble was awesome.
Oh, that fucking drunk guy.
It was really... The best thing was I don't think I included that in the actual episode, so people were probably really confused right now.
Yes, love it.
But Female Trouble, great movie, came out in 1974, starring Divine. If you're a fan of John Waters, this is not to be missed. I'm almost ashamed that it took me this long to see this movie, actually. Have you seen Female Trouble?
No, I have not.
Yeah, so you should definitely check it out.
I'm totally ashamed that I haven't seen as many Waters films as I should have.
I've seen almost all of them. I haven't seen... I think the only one I haven't seen is... what was it called? Desperate Living, is it? I think that was the one. I think it was called Desperate Living.
I also remembered, and I might be wrong. I don't think I am. But wasn't Cecil B. Demented, wasn't Michael Shannon the guy that got stuck in the K-hole?
Was it?
I think it might have been. I'm gonna have to rewatch that movie. But I'm really hoping that he was the guy that got stuck in the K-hole.
That was one of the first DVDs I owned, was Cecil B. Demented.
I love the thought of Michael Shannon being stuck in a K-hole.
I also like that thought. So, Female Trouble, highly recommend it. You can read my thoughts in detail on the site. Then I rewatched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen this yet.
I rewatched this because the trailer for the new one came out this week, and watching the trailer for the new one, it made me remember how much I really enjoyed the first one. On a rewatch, and I haven't seen this since it was in theaters, I still liked it just as much on a rewatch. I mean,
That's good to know.
It's hilarious. It's incredibly well made. The animation's awesome. And it's one of those movies where I remember when the trailers first came out, I was like, it looks kind of stupid. I'm not really that into it. But then when I actually saw it, I was like, this is great. I loved it.
Yeah,
now,
dude, I mean, we were sort of talking about this earlier. There's so many animated films that I haven't seen yet.
Now
this is one of them, Paranorman, Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, you got to see
really got it. Yeah, I got to get on the top of my shit here.
Now, the sequel, it has the whole cast is returning, which is nice. It takes place right after the events of the first one, which is also nice. The only thing that I'm hesitant about is the directors are different. And it's not the same two guys who did the first one. You know, they went on to do 21 Jump Street. And that has me a little concerned.
Yeah, these are the guys that did Open Season 3.
Right, yes.
I didn't even know there was a third.
I didn't either.
Wow.
So that has me a little concerned. Then I saw Jack the Giant Slayer. This is the new Bryan Singer movie that's currently playing in theaters. You know, I thought I was going to really hate this movie. However, I didn't. I actually thought it was okay. I mean, it's really middle of the road. There's not a lot to talk about here. It's your pretty typical fairy tale type story. The thing that I found refreshing was that it wasn't overly dark. You know, like it wasn't all... Because we have like Snow White and the Huntsman and Hansel and Gretel and all these other ones that are like, ooh, it's a dark take. It's a dark take on it. Like this was just
adult fairy tales.
This was just your standard fun adventure story, and I love adventure stories. And it was entertaining. I mean, it had a great cast. I mean, we had Ewan McGregor and Ian McShane. Really big fan of Ian McShane.
I'm a big fan of Eddie Marsan.
And a huge fan of Eddie Marsan. He's awesome in it. And the animation, the CG was not very good though. Like that was a problem. But for the most part, it was pretty light. I mean, it's middle of the road, I would say.
Gotcha.
I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10 on the site. You can read my full review on the site. So maybe a light recommend.
It's unbelievable because The Usual Suspects was such an amazing film.
Yeah, I mean, Bryan Singer has a pretty good track record. You look
well, you know what I mean? You start wondering, was it Bryan Singer or was it Christopher McQuarrie? But even when you look at Christopher McQuarrie, you're like, The Usual Suspects is such an amazing film. I
actually am still a big fan of the first 2 X-Men movies that Bryan Singer did, and especially the second X-Men movie. I thought those were actually quite well made, but we'll see. He's going to be doing the new X-Men movie. They're bringing him back, so we'll see how it goes. In X-Men 2 and the Wolverine movie were X-Men 3 and Wolverine were the bad ones.
Yeah.
But and then I saw a movie called Come Out and Play. This is playing on demand right now.
Which means amazing. Is it amazing?
No, it is so bad. I wanted to turn it off, but I paid to rent it, so.
But it's making off.
Yeah.
It's making off.
It is directed by Making Off.
It's making off. Are you kidding me?
The best thing about this movie was the opening credits and the closing credits.
Okay.
That's it.
That's not a good sign.
This is a bad movie. Okay, so it's about like this couple who goes to this tropical island in Mexico to have a vacation. They go to the town, they find out that everybody's gone. There's like nobody there. And then they realize that the kids that lived on the island killed all the adults. And they have some sort of ailment, some sort of infection or something that's causing them to kill everybody.
Gotcha.
And that's pretty much it. They just have to try to escape. It's terrible.
So it's saying that this is a remake of Who Can Kill a Child or Island of the Damned, which actually has good ratings.
Yeah, Who Can Kill a Child? I haven't seen that, but I heard very good things. In fact, I almost watched that a couple weeks ago for Grindhouse Weekly, but I chose something else. It's horrible. It's one of these things where the choices that the characters make are so illogical and stupid that I want to punch them.
Oh, nice.
And then the only other one I had was Spine Tingler, the William Castle story. This is the documentary about director, producer William Castle, and this was directed by Jeffrey Schwartz. And I really enjoyed this, just like I Am Divine. Very informative documentary about William Castle. A lot I didn't know about William Castle. I'm a fairly big fan of his, just because I do like that style, that B cinema style, and I really wish I was around when his movies were hitting theaters, because he's the guy that came up with all the crazy gimmicks for his movies. Like for the movie Tingler, he would have like little buzzers installed on the theater seats where they would buzz at certain points, and yeah, he did all kinds of crazy gimmicky stuff, and it made me think, like, why don't they do that? Why don't they do that now?
Yeah, exactly.
You would think, like...
You would think that, I mean, it's perfectly suited nowadays for interactive film.
Yeah, like, you would think that somebody like Eli Roth or somebody would pick up the idea and do something like that. And I mean, maybe it's just that people are more jaded nowadays and they wouldn't, buy into it. But
yeah,
but the thing is, I don't think...
There's that entire culture where you can't enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and like I don't think that they were buying into it back then either, but they had fun with it, Like, obviously in what was the movie? I can't remember which one of the movies he did, but there was a skeleton that they had like on a wire that they would run across the audience and stuff, and they just did so much cool shit, and I kind of wish that they would bring that back. Like, do something gimmicky and fun, like have nurses have like actual nurses be on site and like taking people's blood pressures and stuff, and like the one, he took out an insurance policy on all of the people that saw the movie in case they died of fright and stuff like that. And it was just it was just great. But so that's all I have. Let's talk about our predictions from last week. You said we got 21 and over. You said 20. I said 18. Actual 31 on that.
Serious?
Yeah. We have the review for that up on the site. I think Alicia gave it like a 5 out of 10. Seems a little high. But,
seems a little high.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Anyway, Jack the Giant Slayer. You said 36. I said 42. Actual 52 on that. And we have The Last Exorcism Part 2. You said 7. I said 10. Actual 15.
Damn it.
Oh, well, we knew it was going to be bad. And then we have Stoker. You said 74. I said 87. Actual 70. That'll probably change because I think that they're going to have more. That's going to be coming into more theaters starting next week. So that score will probably change.
More likely.
Next week, we really only have 2 wide releases, and that's Oz the Great and Powerful.
Ooh.
What are you thinking on this?
Thinking 58.
58? Okay, I'm going to say 62. Hopefully it'll be good. I don't know. And then we have Dead Man Down. I don't know too much about this, and I don't really know what to think, so I'm going to say 50.
I'm going to go with 56.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. Limited release, we also have the ABCs of Death and Electric Children, so those might be worth checking out. Did get a chance to see both of those. I was not pleased with the ABCs of Death, and the review for that is up on the site currently. Electric Children, we didn't review that, but we did see that as part of our, I saw it as part of the Independent Spirit Awards, and it was pretty good. Billy Zane.
Billy Zane?
DVD and Blu-ray releases. This is for Tuesday, March 5th, 2013. We have The Bay. I did not like The Bay, but
I have no interest in The Bay.
It's kind of an interesting found footage movie. And then we have Intouchables,
which is getting remade.
Yeah, yes it is.
Tom Shadyac.
Yes. I didn't really have any kind of desire to see this, and I still don't really.
I still don't either, even though that has had numerous
accolades.
Yeah, I mean, just glowing review after glowing review.
Yeah, I still just don't have any desire to see that one. And Playing for Keeps, no desire to see that. Red Dawn, no desire. Wreck-It Ralph, I do recommend that if you haven't checked that out. That's
I'm excited for that one.
It's quite good. I mean, it's not earth-shattering. It's not like on the same level as, some of the better Pixar stuff, but it is still a fun movie. We also have, I wanted to mention this, All Dogs Go to Heaven 1 and 2, new to Blu-ray.
Oh,
yeah. There
you go. I haven't seen those in forever.
I know. I think I forgot that they existed.
Wow.
Do you have any releases coming out?
No, I actually have not. Criterion is doing nothing.
Nothing? Whoa.
This week. Apparently they're taking a break from fucking killing it.
Taking a break from killing it.
That's right.
Well, I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
For
a lot of interviews.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on here. For all the latest film news and reviews, visit us at filmpulse.net. We want to hear your feedback. Send us an email, feedback@filmpulse.net, or call our voicemail line at 850-391-6071. Also, please take a minute to rate us on iTunes. We appreciate that very much. For filmpulse.net, my name is Adam.
I'm Kevin.
And we will see you on Wednesday for Ryan Watches a Movie. All right, I got a lot of work to do here, and I'm hungry.